everyone. Today is Wednesday, September 9th, 2020. The time is now 2:03 p.m., officially 3:03 p.m., right. One meeting to the next, okay. 3:03 p.m., officially calling this meeting to order, attending are Commissioners Duncan, Brooks, and Fillios. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, our one and only item is to consider the University of Idaho Extension Office location. This is a facilities discussion with a potential action item. So, without any further delay, I'll have Sharla Wilson come forward, please, and tell us what she has discovered, found, located,
Oh, here, let me, I have handouts today. Thank you.
Thank you.
So since we spoke last, I have, I actually went and looked at a couple places.
Okay.
One up on Prairie. While it would adequately house offices, we would still run into the challenge of meeting spaces, et cetera, et cetera. It still had tenants in it, though they figured they could be out in time, so that was a little tight. One other place that we did go and look, and multiple faculty from our office have gone and looked at this, is the U of I Research Park out at Post Falls, similar location to the NIC facilities you guys were looking at prior to. If you look on the second page of this, that outlined area would represent Suite 105, which we would be able to move into, and then also have access to Conference Room 103, 104, and Classroom 302. As tenants of that building, we would have access to those meeting spaces in addition to the office space. While I am not in love with the location being that far uncentralized from the citizens that we serve, looking at this in the big picture, we talked about, is there a sacrifice that has to be made to make this work in the short term while we are anticipating the building of better facilities at the fairgrounds? Kind of where I've come to, and in conversation with those I work with, it may be best to sacrifice the location and have usable working spaces and the needed classroom and meeting spaces versus having a facility that is too small, though in a more ideal location. So.
Okay. What's your square footage here?
Just over 3,000.
Okay.
And then is this building owned by U of I?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So why are they charging you rent?
Because it is the county's duty to house us. It is not the university's duty to house us, and this is a facility where they do rent out locations.
Okay.
So it's one of those, if we were solely a University of Idaho department, it would be their responsibility to house us. Where we are need the cooperative efforts of the university and the county, it is historically the burden of the county to provide housing for the extension office. So while what they have looked at, what you guys have on the table to provide as rental, they are willing to make that stretch over the 2 years, even though that would not be the standard rent for that facility.
Who was in there before?
I am uncertain of who's the former tenant in that space.
So that space goes way back to the Jacquelines, and the property was donated at the time. The university works similar to the county. We're departmentalized, and you guys, I don't need to explain how that works. So when their office was in the Harbor Center, they were also charged rent, the same type of thing. So we're back to the three-legged stool, county, state, federal partnership to make it work. That building at one time was, when Larry Brannon was in charge of the Coeur d'Alene Center, and then it was primarily, they had a lot of different been vacant for about 8 years now, primarily because they can't find a renter that would take the whole space. And I don't know, Charlotte mentioned, included with that would be, they're on a optic fiber line, iron network, so that's included. So the internet, the phones, which when you talk to them about the phone system, which they would include the phones, they're on a voice over, an IP over internet, so any phone conversations we have with campus or other facilities is over the internet, so you know how that works.
Yeah.
It also includes the janitorial, the meeting space that she already talked about, ample parking.
Signage.
And
Signage, you mentioned that, yeah.
So, you know, and then in a short period of time, it was one of those things where, you know, we didn't have to put up the temporary walls and all that. And it's a nice space. It represents the county and the university quite well, I think, so.
Okay.
Doesn't Jacqueline own the building? And the university was leasing, oh, it is,
Owned by U of I.
is it owned by U of I?
Yes, and it may be, I can't tell you whether, because in our department, you know, we're part of the College of Agriculture, and we're also part of the Ag Experiment Station, but then you've got the university proper. So, and within that, there's so many colleges within the university, and then you've got facilities and, you know, all these other things. And I'm not sure how they parcel that out with the Coeur d'Alene Center, because it's a regional center. Charles Buck actually has control administratively over that building.
Okay, understood.
It's, you know, I didn't get in the weeds too far on that.
No, that's okay.
I believe it has the Jacqueline name on it because they were a contributor, they were a donor
Okay,
on the initial.
okay. Yeah, and the reason, and I think that was the gentleman I was dealing with, was a member of the family, wasn't it? When I spoke with him initially? Or was it, never mind. I thought it was a Jacqueline that I was speaking with. Okay, so where are we at for rental? The fee?
So, basically, their rent is run from around $1.03 to $1.30. And so that would fit within, we were trying to find a space based on the last conversations we had when we were here where we could keep within that 70,000 over a 2-year period. So I'm confident that we can do that. My preference would be, maybe the university's preference, because I've talked to legal counsel, general counsel, and some others, would be that, and this would be for discussion, I think, with you folks today, would be if we could encumber the full amount, we could make note of that in this upcoming MOU. And if you look at last year's MOU, there's an attachment called Exhibit A, in which you guys were allowed to put in your in-kind and all that. And
Right.
basically, that's what it is. This replaces the in-kind that you had in the other. If we encumber it at this point in time, and you make note of that 3-year MOU, then we can do an internal transfer of funds. Nobody has to write a check. We don't have to do a lot of stuff. We can cost transfer those funds from their office as a separate entity to the university and the Jacqueline Center. So that's one way to do it. The other way, I guess, is we bill you.
But the bottom line, though, is the 72,000 will work for 24 years?
24.
Excuse me, 24 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know, I guess I'm still stuck on the fact that it was empty for 8 years and it doesn't seem like we're getting much of a discount if, and also building something, you know, I mean, what happens that 3rd year? So is the university willing to work with us and maybe do 3 years for 72,000?
I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't. I mean, that's a discussion to
And if they'll do 3 years, will they do 4 years? Come on.
What do you,
My point is, this is what we wanted.
You wanted 70,000 for 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
I've found a facility that's willing to work with us for the 70,000 for 2 years, with potential to have conversations later on down the road if there needs to
And
be
you took
extension.
that on to go out and see what you could find. And you found something.
Yes.
Now, I don't want to shoot you in the butt here now that you brought it back.
Thank you.
and you did what we asked you to do?
Right.
But also remember, we weren't put in this situation of our own accord either. So that's the other situation that we found ourselves in. So,
Yeah.
Well, and what's also interesting is when you look at some of the other counties, I think Ada in particular, we were just discussing this offline the other day. Didn't Ada actually build a facility for their extension? Now, we haven't done that, but that is the plan along.
They're also
with
3
combined
times our
administrative
size.
office. Excuse me?
They're also 3 times our size.
Our 4-H youth development program is the largest in the state. We outnumber
Yeah.
Ada County. We actually did have a University of Idaho extension facility in this county. It was 106 Dalton. So we've had one before.
You've
It would
had
be
one
nice
before,
to have
yeah.
one
Yeah.
again.
So anyway, the plan is to do a combined administrative office with the fairgrounds, but I think to Bill's point,
I know it's still tax dollars, and that's why I'm,
but part of the challenge is if I'm standing here 3 or 4 years from now, the chances of any of you being here and being able to make a commitment that far ahead is nil as far as I'm concerned.
Don't say nil.
Yeah.
Don't say nil.
We'll have Brooks here still.
But you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's
That's the nature of the county commissioner.
sure.
term limits.
Yeah.
The turnover.
no,
Right,
but the thing
turnover.
is, you know, where it stands right now, you'll have the same 3 people for the next 2.5 years. And by then, we probably will have made a commitment on some sort of construction project at the fairgrounds.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
I suspect it will even be underway, if not completed, but I guess that's a little bit of a question for
So the specific answer to your
Alexcia.
question, Commissioner Brooks, would be, that would be a question, I guess, that I or you, your group, would have to pose to Charles Buck of the Court Langston, because he's the one that I would deal with, or we would deal with in terms of any type of.
Mine was only a rhetorical question.
Do you
I'm
have,
not surprised you asked it, so.
And,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Leslie.
do you have a lease ready to go? Is there a lease that we
So-
can put to legal?
So the question and what Mike was proposing is, do we do this as a formal lease, or do we work it in through our MOU that is in the point where it needs to be reworked for our next year, that we work the agreement between the university understanding and the county understanding into that MOU of us occupying that space in exchange for the 70,000 for 2 years?
Well, our budget's already been set, so we can't give you $72,000 more for your budget.
No. But you have the 70,000 sitting on the table, correct?
Right.
Yes.
That
Yes.
you've laid out there.
Yes.
So
Right.
can we work that in with the MOU in addition to our budget allotment?
It would be identified as your income. Right now, on Exhibit A and the current MOU that you have, there's, I didn't have 54,000.
Yeah, no, I have
I
that.
mean-
I have that.
And so basically, this.
I guess it's a
35,000
question for
is where it
Dina.
replaces that.
Okay, well, no, I have it right here. I'm just saying that it seems like it's doing weird. I mean, why wouldn't we just write the
We
check?
We
Yeah, why don't
could-
we just draft the MOU and state that the county is gonna pay whatever it is, the 70 or 72,000 for the 24
We can
months?
do that.
Yeah.
We would have, we would bill you, I guess.
That's fine,
Or the research park would.
or the research.
Right.
It would be, yeah, I mean, the thing is in the budget,
Yes.
in-kind is not included.
Correct.
So it's not cash,
Right.
so it would be an increase to the budget.
Well, it's actually for 2020, we have the money now. And so that's what I was,
So are you thinking,
Budget that is cash for next year instead of,
so you're thinking we would write the check up front? We're gonna have to write it
Yes.
from this year's funds, okay,
Yep.
there you go. All right,
yeah.
I care not,
as long as you need a place and they need to get paid,
as
okay,
you open the door and
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
this is ours for a couple of years.
okay.
Sure. All right.
And if it makes it easier for you, we can, realize that, you know, when you get legal involved on both sides, things will slow down. But I'm confident that if we catch a snag because of that, it's not going to prohibit them from
Moving in.
No, no, no.
moving in.
Okay.
So,
They've already started moving out. Is it vacant now? Is it officially vacant?
Yes, it's vacant and move-in ready.
painted, it's ready to go.
Great.
I've also talked to them about lighting up the internet within each one of those offices. We've had discussions about being able to port the phone numbers, their existing numbers over to those new phones, those type of conversations.
All right, so we draft the MOU. We already have the model, obviously, because we have an existing one.
Yeah.
And we write the check, and it's just a question of who I guess we're going to write the check to the landlord.
Well, we need the lease. I mean, you
We need the
gotta,
lease,
yeah,
yeah.
gotta get the lease to legal.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, get the lease from, is Charles Buck? Yeah, get the lease from Charles, and then we'll get it over to legal, and off we go.
Alexcia, did you have something?
You look troubled.
I'm a little troubled.
Uh-oh.
It only has to do with the fact that this is only 2 years and 3. You're asking us to build a building. As far as I know, I don't anticipate any help from the county. I've already found potential engineering that will 100% donate. I've found people who will do renderings that will donate. And working on a grant writer who's willing to donate. There's only so much I can ask for out of this community, and at some
Sure.
point, you guys have to help. Giving them only a 2-year lease is not right. I don't know, I mean, at the end of this 2 years, then what? Because if you think a building's gonna be up in 2 years, I wish and I hope, and if magically somebody drops a bunch of money on us, we will build it. But 2 years isn't enough.
Yeah, but the thing is, we can take it up at that time, as we approach the end of the lease period.
We can take it up
Say you do
before
and you
that
decide
time.
not to do anything or not to fund it, then where do they go?
Well,
What happens to our program?
I doubt seriously that it's not going to get funded.
Okay, please, thank you, I hope.
we don't have to,
Pray.
we don't have to start on the last day of the
Yeah, well,
2
no,
years.
obviously, we're not going to wait 2
No,
years.
no,
I mean,
no.
obviously,
Start on
this
it
is going
now.
to start months ahead of time, but,
Okay.
well, how much time do you think you need to build?
I need to raise a bunch of money. Like,
But you said you could.
I know I can, but what assistance am I gonna get? Should I need it? I've got 0 to start with. And working every angle we can to ask our community for help, and they will help, and I believe wholeheartedly we can make this happen. I'm just saying, don't expect it to be done in 2 years, magically. This is a lot of work that you're putting onto our federal.
Understood, but right now, the funding level that we have is sufficient for 2 years, so we're going to have to take it up as we approach.
We also have other facilities, things going
Yeah,
on. We're
there's
looking
other
at
things
building
going
a
on.
building on campus. We're looking at purchasing another building in the city of Hayden. That we have all kinds of things. We're just trying to get them settled right now.
If we cannot make this happen, that we have a new place to put them, or
Yes,
another plan.
yes.
I mean, I hate to see them move more than once, but
Yeah. This will,
what I'm looking for is just
Yes.
this will be my 4th move in the extension office. I would like to not make this a regular habit, as it is challenging for clientele once we get settled into a
Oh,
spot
no,
and
no.
they start to find us. But,
Understood.
yeah. But I understand, you know, we have funding on the table. I'm still challenged with exactly why it is that we have to move. But I get it.
You know, but to Leslie's point, I mean, we're looking at building a building here. We're in negotiations for something else that's even quite large, okay? And so there are possibilities if the 2 years expire and we can't keep you where you are. And I understand you want to minimize the dislocation, and so do we, but we're fine, okay? We're fine. And I didn't, when I referred earlier and said, you know, your building could potentially be under construction within 2 years, maybe that's possible. If it's not, they're not going to be left out, they're not going to get hung out to dry. We will take care of it. We have possibilities that are emerging. It's just that I can't go into detail right now. So we're thinking ahead. And it's not just extension, it's attorneys, it's courtrooms, it's a lot of things that are coming down. And
I
we're,
got a whole courtroom
And we're planning for them.
Yes.
Yeah. Holding cells and everything.
Yep.
Where?
At the fairgrounds. They
You
have
have a
1, 2, and 3 combined.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for jury selection and courts and stuff. Yep.
I was just gonna say, I'll float the comment about if there's a potential of a third year for the state of
At least, yeah, open it up so we can get it on the table and we'll deal with it. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Linda, please come forward.
Couldn't go without making at least one comment. You know, this solution is probably the best solution at the moment. However, the site is not the best site for these folks to be in. You know, and I've got a vested interest, I readily admit that. But when you look at it from the public side, how many people are going to take their little plant clear out to the state line to go to the plant clinic? Or people coming from clear over at Cataldo or down at Lane, coming for a leaders meeting. You know, it's bad enough for them to come to Coeur d'Alene, but now they have to go clear to the state line. That is a long ways to ask your clientele to have to come to. And so I would just hope that we do not stick them there and leave them there forever. If this becomes a convenient place to be and the price is right, please don't do that to them.
That's not the plan. And this was, and as you know, Linda, this was one of several facilities that were under consideration.
I do know.
You could have gone right across the street from the fairgrounds. However, you had
didn't.
space limitations. I
It was
get it.
definitely, I mean,
Right.
this fits the office that they need,
Right,
granted. It's just the location stinks.
understood. Always remember, on the other side of our discussion, or very much integral to it, is the taxpayer. And we have to look out for the taxpayer as well.
Yeah, but it's a very smaller, much smaller clientele than all of taxpayers in Kootenai County.
But we are here to serve all of the taxpayers.
Yep.
Our doors open to all of them. So how we are located will influence drastically how well we can serve.
And I think they understand.
Anyone else? No? Do we need a motion?
I don't think so. We just need a lease.
Okay, so you'll get us the lease and off we go. Okay,
I do have a couple logistics questions.
sure.
As we are now on a short turnaround to try to get an entire office packed up while still conducting business. Just who do I visit with about, you know, I've already asked Reprographics to please load us with any paper boxes and that kind of stuff. That's not going to be sufficient. Do I need to dip into our budget funds, or are there funds available to help if I need to purchase boxes or to purchase shelving because we will no longer have the built-in shelving that's out in the garage and those kind of things? How do we,
Have you reached out to your 700 members and let them know what your needs are?
well, I was wanting to make sure I actually had a place I was going to
Okay.
first. So no, I have not reached out to all of my 4-H families or master gardeners or those who attend the forestry programs. But it's one of those, is that what I need to do? Do I need to just put out the, like, help us, we're getting moved, please throw us boxes?
I think that'd be a good place to start if Repro can't give you all the boxes that you need. Yeah, I think that'd be a good place to start.
Things like, we do have cabinetry that is installed into the kitchen that our programming purchased. If we opt to move that to our new location, how is the uninstall and reinstall of that to be handled? Because
That'd be a Greg.
Greg, do you
Yeah.
want to answer that?
I could look at that. I know we're gonna move them, or we're hiring a moving company to move them. I'll just have to look at the cabinetry they have, and we should be able to reinstall it.
Okay. Thank you,
That
Greg.
question. What do you think you're looking for boxes? Well,
U-Haul
first of all,
moving
do you have ro-
boxes.
Do you have room in your budget?
Looking at well, so my budget's a little interesting because our budget year doesn't coincide with your budget year, so I'm always trying to like.
Are you on a
shift.
calendar?
We are on a June 1st. No, a July 1st. We're on a July 1st calendar where you guys are on October 1st, so what you allot us for budget doesn't always lay exactly with what I've got. I'm sure I can find some funds, but I would rather not tap into that if I also have to bear the costs of purchasing new shelving or any other equipment and pieces that we need for our new office. So as I, would like to minimize moving expenses what I can.
Dina, this is a question for you. Is Sharla already started on her fiscal, she can't be, has she started on her fiscal 21? That's not possible.
No.
No.
Because ours goes into effect in July.
I,
Her
Yeah.
fiscal year is already underway. Her fiscal year just started. Our fiscal year will start on October 1st.
Okay, all right.
So she's very early in her budget cycle.
it's just one of those, this wasn't a cost
See
we
what you
planned
can
for.
do with the funds that you have available, and if it presents a problem, we'll take it up from there.
Will we still have access to reprographics? That's something that we have worked with them. Is that still going to be? do I
Have you
just need
always
to
had
work-
access to them?
Yes.
Then you should continue to have access to
Just
them.
work with Dave on how that
Yes,
works.
yes.
Okay. And one final thing. I appreciate that Elections is anxious to get into their new space. I would appreciate it if they weren't over in our office all of the time, poking around, trying to figure out where all the data and everything is while we are open during business hours. Kind of feels like we've got vultures hanging on us right now.
I'll make that call.
Thank you. If they want to work with us on timeframes that is workable to come in and go through things, but having them pop in, having them poke through
I'll
personal
call 'em.
offices
Yeah.
has been disruptive
Okay.
and disconcerting.
Fair enough. Anyone else? Pierce, please.
Fillios, Brooks. I spoke with you about 3 weeks ago. You weren't able to attend the meeting. One thing I'd like to bring up, and I see Greg in the room, what about the labor program the county has? Would they be able to assist if a program I started years ago using prisoners, the ones that were offenders, DUIs, rather than,
You'd have to contact the sheriff.
yes.
Yeah.
So I think it'd carry more weight if it came from you. If there was something they don't overlook, that's all I'm saying. If something to help lift heavy items, I always used to give Barb Renner, that's how far I'm dating back, prisoners the last 30 days, or labor crew, let me call it that. The last 30 days of the fair, all our labor crews went to assist the fairgrounds because it was a county event, the people, the taxpayers, and I wanted them to get the best benefit. It's just something I was talking with Sharla before I came in here, the possibility of maybe having them do some of the heavy lifting, and I don't know if Greg works with them or not, or something even to consider, but I just want to throw that 2 cents out.
Do you want to check with Dan Meadows?
Yeah, and like everything else these days, things have changed radically
That I understand.
from 6 months ago. Not just from when you were doing it, but
Then one last thing. Thank you very much for addressing this. It's something near and dear to me, as you found out. Something I'm believing very strongly because I speak as the former sheriff. I never had problems with the 4-H kids or their families. And
Right.
it represents an awful large section of this community still, so even though we're getting a lot of outsiders. But again, I want to thank you very much for at least working with them and getting in place, so thank you.
You're very welcome, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I have 3:30, 3:31, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.